Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So with Zini, my name is Ezini and I'm a fashion designer based in the eastern part of Nigeria. So I want to use this opportunity to wish you all a happy new year and hope you guys had a very wonderful celebration. So on today's tutorial, we'll learn how to make this shirt. This is a bishop collar shirt and it has a drawstring by the side, as you can see on the screen, and it also has an ostrich feathers on the wrist part, which is detachable. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I arrived by that. So now without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. So here I've already gone midway into my drafting, and from the beginning of my pattern paper I went in by 3 inches, which is my standard neck measurement, and from there I went in by 8 inches, which is going to serve as the shoulder measurement. From that point that I marked my 8 inches, I came down by 1 inch and I marked it. From there I slanted it back to my 3 inches standard neck measurement. So from my shoulder slope, I wrote down a straight line, which is going to serve as my armhole measurement, and then from there I boxed it, and now this is just going to give me my chest line measurement. Okay, so the next line I have here is my bust point measurement. I've ruled the line, and then after that the next thing would be the length of our shirt. So our top length measures 24 inches, as you all can see, and that is what we are going to be using. So on our armhole line, we'll place our measuring tape and check the midpoint. So this is going to help us to draw a perfect curve for our armhole. So once we've checked it, we'll mark it out, and then we'll go in by 3/4 of an inch, and then we'll mark that as well. So on our chest line, we'll mark out our bust measurement, which is 10 inches. So we are going to be marking this out. Now we are going to connect these 3 lines together, just as you see me doing in the video. Now the next thing we'll be doing is to mark out our neck depth. The neck depth we are using for this is 1 inch, nothing lesser or higher than that. Okay, so we'll mark it out and then we'll curve it back to our neck width. Next thing will be to connect our bust measurement straight down to our top length. Now there is no waist measurement at all because this is going to be a very free shirt. So now it is very pertinent to note that when you're drafting a shirt pattern, you have to start drafting it from the back pattern, okay, not from the front. So this pattern I started with the back, and from the back I am going to derive the front. So this is very important. I should have added it at the beginning, but I am adding it now. So it's important to note that you have to start drafting from the back pattern instead of the front. Then after you've derived your back, you would use your back to get the front pattern. So yes, I've gone ahead to cut out my back pattern. Now from this back pattern, I'm going to derive my front. So I'll be placing it on another plain pattern paper, and I'll use that to cut out my front. Now for the front pattern, before we start, we'll measure out 3 inches and rule a line. Okay, so now we are going to start after the line that we have ruled. Now this 3 inches space is for where the button is going to stay, the button and the buttonhole. So now that we've placed it, we'll go ahead and use our sellotape to hold the back pattern properly to the front so that we can be able to trace it out on the pattern. Now the next thing we'll do is to mark out our neck depth. So we are using 3 inches. This is so that the collar doesn't come down. This is so that it goes up. So we are going to be using 3 inches. 3 inches is the standard. I don't expect you to go lower than that. So yes, we'll use 3 inches for the neck depth. Now the next thing we'll do is to just trace it out with our scissors. We'll just cut it out. So after we are done cutting it out, we'll then remove our back pattern and then unfold it so that we can see what we are working with properly. Then our standard 3 inches neck depth, this is where we'll mark it and then we'll curve it. So I'll go ahead and just cut this out. I'll go ahead and label my front pattern, and this is how it looks. The front might look a little bit funny, the neckline I mean, but as we go into the video you would understand that. So this is the fabric that I'm using. This is a crepe fabric. It's stretchy. It is very, very stretchy. So there's no need for me to put extra allowance. I'll not be adding any allowances. So yes, this is the fabric that I'm going to use. So the next thing I'll do is to go ahead and fold this fabric properly in such a way that it is going to accommodate my pattern paper without waste. Folded it properly, and we are going to be placing our front pattern on it. Now the first we'll do is to put this on the fabric, and then we'll just pin them down. We'll hold them down with pins. Not holding them down with pins, and I'll go ahead and use my tailor's hammer to just put on the fabric so that it prevents it from going down. Next thing I'll do is to reduce my front pattern shoulder by 1/2 inch. Okay, I'm doing this so that I can be able to increase the back pattern by 1 inch. You're going to understand what I'm doing as time goes on later in the video. So now I've marked out my 1/2 inch and I've ruled the line, so I'm going to cut this out. So just to note this, I had to leave about 1.5 inches allowance at the bottom part of the shirt. So quickly we'll drag up the fabric so that we can be able to put our back pattern and then cut that out as well. So this is my back pattern. I'll place it here and then I'll pin it up properly. Then the next thing we'll do will be to continue with our shoulder. For the shoulder, I'll go up by 1 inch and then I'll trace this out. Okay, so if you notice, for every shirt it's almost as if the back is overlapping the front. So this is what is going to happen here. The back is going to overlap the front. Okay, the joining of the shoulder is kind of going to be on the front side of the shirt. I don't know if you've noticed this with most shirts. So this is what is happening here, and this is how we are going to be creating this shirt. So I'm going ahead to cut it, and I'll also leave my 1.5 inches allowance at the bottom part of the shirt. So for the front part, I'll go ahead unpin and then slash the folded part open, because we need this to be open in order to fold it for our button and our buttonhole. Remember the 3 inches that we left? This just serves the purpose of our button and our buttonhole. So while you can still leave this way, I just want to add my paper stay in order to give it structure, to make it thicker. I would advise you just use a paper stay or a cloth gum, whichever works for you. This will just make that particular part that you fix your button and your buttonhole, it will make it firmer. So here it is. I've ironed my essay on it, and this is what it looks like. And as you can see, it's already making it look firmer. So I just folded the other part to show you guys what it will look like after folding it. So yes, this is how I'm going to be folding it. If you watch closely in the video, I'll give it the first fold and then I'll go ahead and give it the second fold. Afterwards, I'll then use my sewing machine and run a straight stitch on it. Now before I run a stitch on it, I'll double fold, and then I'll use pins to hold it, to keep it in place so that it doesn't shift. Now when I'm done holding it down with the pins, I'll use my iron. I'll iron it so that it keeps it in place for sewing, or you can as well go ahead and sew. After sewing, you would then iron it, whichever one works for you. So yes, I would hold it down with pins and then I will then take it to the sewing machine and sew. So here it is. I've sewn the two sides, so I'll go ahead and overlap both of them and then I'll hold them down with pins so that it will enable me to take my collar measurements properly, just as you see me doing. After doing this, I'll go ahead, join my shoulder and show you how it looks like. Okay, so this is it. I've joined my shoulder already and this is what it looks like. Okay, so I have to turn it so that you will see what the inside looks like. So I've joined the back shoulder and the front shoulder together. I've joined the both sides and this is what it looks like. So yes, that is that. So if you look closely, you see where the back came to overlap the front. I don't know, because of the type of material this is, you might not be able to see it, but yes, see the line. So the back came and overlapped the front for the shoulder area. So yes, this is the back. I'm going to have to fix my sleeve, but before that I'll have to fix my collar first. So in order to get the appropriate collar measurement, you take your measuring tape and measure right around the neck region. Okay, it needs to be very accurate, no extra inches, no reduced inches. So you take your tape just as you see me doing in the video, and you measure right around your neck region. So I'll go ahead and draw the collar on a plain sheet of paper so that you have a proper and clearer understanding. So first of all, this plain sheet of paper I'm using is on fold. Okay, it is on fold. So whatever your collar measurement is, you divide it by 2. So mine is 20 and I divided it by 2, which is giving me 10 inches. Okay, so I'll go ahead and mark. Remember, it's on fold, so when you open it, it will give you 20 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark that 10 inches as you can see on the video. Now on that 10-inch line that I marked, I'll go up by half an inch on that spot that I marked my 10 inches. I'll go up by half an inch and then I'll mark it. Now this 10-inch that I've marked, I'll go ahead and divide it by 2, which will give me 5. So I'll also go ahead and mark that as well. Now what I'll do next is to connect that half inch that we marked up down to half of the 10 inches. Okay, so just as you see me doing in the video, you make a slanted or a curved line down to half of the 10 inches, that is the 5 inches that we marked. Now after we are done with that, we'll start going up by 1 inch just as you see me doing in the video. I'll mark this 1 inch right down to where our curved line stop. Okay, so I'll just keep going up. As my curve went up, I'll be going up with that curved line that I made. Okay, so the line is not going to be straight, so I'll just keep on doing that till the end of the line. So now I'll go ahead and connect all those dotted lines together, and this is what we have. So after labeling it, we'll go ahead and cut it. So I said earlier that we are cutting on fold, so this is what it looks like when it's open. This will give you the full collar. Now before we go ahead and cut this out on our fabric, we are going to shape the top part of the collar by removing half an inch from the very top part, just as you see me doing in the video. I'll remove half an inch and then I'll curve it down to the end part of the collar. So now after I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and cut out the excess, and this is what we have afterwards. So here I used a piece of collar on the paper to cut it out on my fabric, and this is what we have. Okay, I added half an inch all right round. Okay, all through the collar I added half an inch. So now for this, I'm going to be using stay to glue this to my collar so that it gives it that firm finish. Okay, you can't just leave your collar like that. So this is it. I've ironed the collar and this is what it looks like. Okay, so now we have 2 pieces of this collar, so I only just ironed one part. I ironed only one part of the collar. I left the other part bare so that it is easier for me to turn when I'm done sewing it. So now I'll go ahead and place one piece of this collar on top the other one, just as you see me doing in the video. I'll place both of them together. So now I'll make sure that the both ends align, and then I'll go ahead and sew that part, that top part. Okay, I'll go ahead and sew it, and then I'll leave the down part open so that I can use that to turn it. So before we start sewing, just at where my finger is, you leave half an inch. Okay, so that you use it to turn it, you leave half an inch and then you start sewing. So yes, I've sewn it and this is what we have. Okay, so I've also gone ahead to iron it. So as you can see, I've sewn it and I've ironed it properly, and this is what we have. Also, our down part is open, so we are going to use it to sew in the collar. So we'll start by pinning off one side of the collar first before we would cover it up with the other one. Although my camera couldn't cover these parts, I'm sorry about that, but then this is what I mean, although you still don't understand that later in the video. Okay, so I just held one part with pins, as you can see from here. So now that part that I held down with pin, this is it. I went ahead to sew it. Okay, so this is that half inch that I left initially, I told you guys to leave. So this is it. I've gone ahead to sew it on my sewing machine. As you can see, I only sewed one part of the collar, and that is the one that has the ST. Okay, so now I would use the other one to turn it and close it up completely. So just as you see me doing in the video, I'll cover up 1/2 inch. I'll just keep doing this, and as I'm doing it, I'll be holding it down with my pin so that it doesn't move out of place. So now this is what it looks like so far. I'll keep on doing this, and when I'm done, I'll take it to the sewing machine and then I'll run a stitch across. So now I'm done sewing it, I've attached it, and this is what our bishop collar looks like. It has been sewn neatly and the finishing is top notch. Okay, so now the next thing I would be doing is to attach my sleeves. Already I have cut out my sleeves, so I'll go ahead and attach it to the armhole part of this shirt. So here I've attached the sleeves, and this is what it looks like. So the next thing I'll do is to close this to close up the sides. But before we do that, we'll go ahead and double fold the wrist part of the shirt before we close. Just as you see me doing in the video, I'll double fold it and then I'll start folding. I'll start closing up the sides. So yes, I've closed up the sides, and this is what it looks like. As you can see, also the wrist part, I've closed that up as well, and this is what it looks like. Also, we finished off the down part of the dress. We've double folded, we folded twice. As you can see, we finished it up neatly, and this is what it looks like. Now the next thing is to insert our drawstrings. So this is the rope that I've already cut out and made. So for drawstrings to take effect, you have to make 4 ropes, 2 for each side and then 2 for the other side, 2 for the left side and 2 for the right side. So now I'll open up the shirt, I'll turn it inside out. So now that I've turned it out, I'll take my measuring tape and then measure out where I want my rope to start from or stop. So now I've measured out where I want it to start from, and I'm using 15 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark my 15 inches. Okay, so I'm using marker so that it will help you to see it well. Now remember that it is what is left of the sewing allowance that I'll be using to enclose this rope. So here I'll just put the rope on one side of the drawstring and make sure that it crosses that line that I marked, that 15 inches, a little bit, like by 1/2 inch. So I'll just put it inside and I'll use my pin to hold it down so that it doesn't move. Okay, so I'll take this again, I'll put my rope inside the allowance and I'll make sure that it crosses that 15-inch line that I marked by 1/2 inch or 1 inch, so that when we sew on that line it doesn't come out, so that it holds it firm. Just watch closely as I do this in this video. So here we go again, I put the rope inside and I drag it up a little bit to cross that line. So now I use my pin to secure it. After securing it, I'll take it to the sewing machine and sew on that line. Okay, I'll sew on that line. Now the next thing I'll do is make sure that the ropes are enclosed well into the seam allowance, and then I'll take it to my sewing machine and sew on the edge of the allowance, okay, so that it doesn't sew on the rope. So I'll just be careful and sew it only at the edge. Now I'll do this and then I'll bring it and show you guys what it looks like after sewing. So yes, this is it. This is our drawstrings. I've sewn it up properly on the outside, and then on the inside this is what it looks like, and this is what I was trying to explain. Okay, so see where our line is. I sewed above the line and I brought the stitch down to the end part of the shirt. So here we have our drawstrings. We have completed our drawstrings. So you can pull it anyhow you want. You can pull it up so tight and you can leave it in the middle, whichever one you want to do. So yes, after pulling it you can decide to tie it, and this is what it looks like. So now the next thing I'll show you guys is how I arrived at the detachable ostrich feathers for my shoulder. While this might be stressful, but then it is better because you don't have to always wash it, because ostrich feathers seems to always collapse whenever you wash it. So you just have to attach and detach whenever you feel like it. Okay, so here I've already cut out my band that I'll be using for this. Also, I've gone ahead to attach my pressing buttons. I attached 4 on each wrist, 2 at the front and 2 at the back of the sleeve. Okay, I also attached 4 on the band that I made, so I'll use it to press down at the wrist, just like you see me doing in the video. Now for the band measurement, there's nothing difficult about it. You just have to measure around the wrist where you want the pressing button to be or the ostrich feathers to be. So whatever measurement there is, you mark it out as your band and then you cut it out. So here I have my ostrich feathers, and I think I have about 3 to 4 yards of ostrich feathers here because I want it to be very full, but you can use lesser than this, but because of the type of effect I want, so that is why I'm using this amount. So now I would go ahead and start cutting this down. I'll just measure it. You can decide to leave like 1 inch at most, half an inch or 1.5 or even 2 inches. So it just depends on you, but I left 1 inch, and for some I left 1.5. So whichever one I left, I'll just cut it out. So now I'm beginning to cut it out. I'll just go ahead and cut them out. So I'll just pieces them, so it will just help me. It will be easier for me to attach it. So I'll just keep doing this and then cutting it out until I'm done with all of them. So also I already know the size I want, so I'll just go ahead, fold it, and then I'll cut. I don't even need to start measuring it again. So in my head I already know the size that I want. I even went as far as leaving 2.5 inches. You can even leave 3 inches. So whatever rocks your boat, whatever you feel that will be okay, you can just go ahead and leave it. But I still feel it will be better for you to cut it in bits of 2 inches, 2.5, 3, so that you'll be faster with it. Because if it's smaller, it will make the work more hectic, like when you're fixing it bit by bit. So once you just cut 2.5, 3 inches, then it will be a bit easier for you to fill up fast. So this is what I'll keep doing till I'm done. Then I'll go ahead and show you the next step. So now I'm done doing it. I'm done cutting it. So I'll now start taking them piece by piece. So here I'm going to be folding it just as you see me doing in the video. I'll go ahead and fold it like bit by bit. After folding it, I'll cut off the head so that it doesn't make it have a hard texture when you're fixing it in. So yes, so now the next thing I'll do is to go ahead and attach my gum at the head part, after attaching it, after pressing my gum on the head part that I just cut out, I'll go ahead and place it on the band strategically. Okay, so I'll just fix it up on the band just as you see me doing in the video. So the goal is to keep on fixing it until it fills up the whole area of the band. So remember that you're going to be fixing it on the area that does not have the pressing button, that's inside the band, not on the area that has the pressing button. Now I've picked up the second piece and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'll go ahead, cut off the head, place my gum on it, and then I would attach it on my band. So this is what I would keep doing till I fill up these whole spaces on the band. So I continue the rest of camera, and finally I'm done fixing the ostrich feathers, and this is how it looks. As you guys can see, this looks so lush and very beautiful. So look at how fluffy and light-weighted it looks and it feels. I tell you, this is better than fixing it directly on your sleeve. Okay, so I just hope you can give this a try and see how nice it is. So I'll go ahead and attach this to the sleeve using the pressing button that I already fixed on the both ends. So this is how I'm going to be attaching it. As you can see, I've already fixed the pressing button on the both sides of the sleeve. So I'll go ahead and attach it with the band. Now after attaching it, I'll show you what it looks like on the mannequin. So yeah, finally we are done, and this is what our bishop collar shirt looks like with the detachable ostrich feathers. Okay, I've also gone ahead to fix the buttons and the buttonholes, and everything came out so on point. So yes, we've come to the end of this video, and if you watched up to this point, please do not forget to give this a thumbs up, to share, comment, and put on your notification bells in order to get notified whenever I post subsequent videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you do give this a try out. Have a nice day, and do see you in my next video. Bye.